Government 2305, American Federal Government, Module 1.08, Faith in God. In the 1630s, a large contingent of Puritans escaped European persecution and sailed to New England with an ambitious aim to establish a biblical commonwealth that would serve as a Christian model for the rest of the world. Governor John Winthrop, in his shipboard sermon, called their settlement a city upon a hill and expected the eyes of all people on us. How did they fare? If people were really watching, they soon saw unexpected complications. For example, the Quakers from Pennsylvania, whom the Puritans despised for lacking discipline, began sailing north to convert the New Englanders. If the Quakers succeeded, they would subvert the whole idea of a model Puritan society. New England's women, the ministers worried, might be especially vulnerable to Quaker heresies, which emphasized the inner light shining in each person. The authorities banned Quakers from Massachusetts under the threat of having an ear cut off, one each for the first and second offenses, their tongues pierced by hot pokers for the third offense, and finally, death. Quaker martyrs joyfully challenged the Puritan authorities. 4 were hung before English authorities ordered an end to the punishment. Compared to other nations, we are still a very religious country. Religion plays an important and long-lasting role in America's political and social history. While the central role of religion may not surprise you, it's an example of how deeply rooted the idea of American exceptionalism is in our culture. As most nations grow wealthier, religious fervor usually diminishes. Citizens in developed countries from Britain and France to Japan and South Korea tell pollsters that God is not very important in their lives. In contrast, Americans maintain high levels of religiosity. Some 87% of Americans say that they believe in God. 51% belong to a church, and nearly 45% attend church regularly. But despite what some would have you believe, the United States is not solely rooted in Christianity. Americans actually have quite a few religions to choose from, as we will see in the next slide. According to your textbook, one recent survey found that 16 different Christian denominations with over 1 million members each were practicing in the United States. But that's just the beginning. As you can see in the graphic on the left, Christians made up roughly 66.4% of the population in 2020. But that's down more than 15% from the 2010 figure of 78.3%. Jews number over 7 million members. Muslims over 3.5 million. And 7 other non-Christian groups have over 100,000 adherents each. Your textbook gives the example of 2 of the fastest growing non-Christian groups being Wiccans and pagans. Just look at the numbers for those who say they are unaffiliated with any religious group. 25.6% say that they are unaffiliated today, but that's up from the 16.4% in 2010. It's up by 55%. In looking at the data in these charts from the Pew Research Center, it's clear to see that in 2021, Christianity is still the largest religious belief system in the United States, with around 70% of respondents saying that they are Christians. But look at the other religions that are practiced in the United States today. Of those who responded to the Pew Research study, 1.9% identify as Jewish, 0.7% is Buddhist, 0.7% is Hindu, 0.9% is Muslim, 3.1% is agnostic, and 0.6% said they don't even know. But the interesting number is in those who said that they are affiliated with nothing in particular. The question is, as that unaffiliated group grows over time and the numbers who follow Christianity seem to be diminishing ever so slightly, what does this say about American political and social culture in the future? Now, when we're looking at those numbers who say that they are Christians, the numbers are also telling. At present, evangelical Protestants account for roughly 25.4% of Christian believers in the United States. Next in numbers is those who identify as Catholic at just under 21%, followed by mainline Protestants at 14.7%, historically black Protestants at 6.5%, Mormons at 1.6%, Jehovah's Witnesses at 0.8%, Orthodox Christians at 0.5%, and other Christians at 0.4%. So while Christianity is still the most prevalent religion in the United States, its followers practice at least 8 different forms of Christianity that we know of. Why so many religions? Well, for one thing, there's a tradition of free market competition, so that might have something to do with it in the United States. But why so religious? This is what your textbook authors call one of the great mysteries of politics. So how's the United States different when it comes to religious adherence than other countries? Well, many other nations have a single faith, often supported by the government. For instance, the Anglican Church, or the Church of England, is sponsored by the United Kingdom and its government. And remember, the colonies began with distinct religious affiliations. But the other thing is that because of those religious affiliations, religious observance tends to fluctuate by region. Texas and Georgia are highly religious. Florida and Missouri are in the middle. Colorado and Wisconsin are not especially religious, and Maine is the least religious. So how is religion relevant to our study of American politics? As we will see in the next chapter, the Constitution appears to erect what Thomas Jefferson described as a wall of separation between church and state. Yet America's energetic religious life, marked by great evangelical revivals, injects 3 different types of political issues into American politics. First, there's the question of exactly what the Constitution forbids. May teachers lead prayer in public schools? May students in the bleachers organize prayers before football games? May judges post the 10 Commandments in a courthouse? Questions such as these spark intense debates about just where to draw the line between church and state. Second, the religious faith often inspires people to throw themselves into political issues. The civil rights movement spilled out from Baptist and Methodist churches across the South, brimming with religious rhetoric, religious symbols, and religious zeal. Historically, even proponents of white supremacy argued for slavery and segregation and framed their response in religious terms. In American politics, both sides often evoke God. The controversies swirling around the politics of racial justice, abortion, the environment, same-sex marriage, and many other issues have all, to varying extents, made the same leap from pulpit to politics. Today, conservatives are more likely to take their faith into the political arena, but this has not always been true. Third, the religious fervor sometimes fosters a missionary sense in American politics. As the nation expanded westward, some Americans declared their manifest destiny, that God had given an entire continent to his chosen people. During the Cold War, the American leaders constantly evoked God as a way of contrasting the United States with communist nations. Congress added "Under God" to the Pledge of Allegiance in 1954 and "In God We Trust" to paper money in 1955. John Winthrop's ideas that America has a model for the world still inspires many Americans today.
We're going to protect.
So let's review. Religion plays an enduring role in American politics and society. This is unusual, almost unique among wealthy countries. Americans have an unusually large number of faiths to choose from, although younger people are less likely to affiliate with an organized religion. And we've seen that religion touches politics in at least 3 ways. First, it injects questions about the role of religion in political life. Second, it inspires political participation. And third, it fosters a missionary sense in American foreign policy.